Hello, I hope this day is finding you well. I'm Lisa Donohue and your host for Heart of the Matter, A Soulful Cure. The focus of this program is holistic health, creating the most optimal state for each and every one of us, mind, body, and spirit. And in today, getting to the heart of yet another matter, my guest is Gary Lindorff, a dream worker and transformational counselor, and I would add author. We're going to talk about the power of dreams and their importance as we embrace the winter months, as sometimes known as the dream time. So thanks so much, Gary, for coming on the show. I've wanted to do this with you forever, and I've been in just timings, traffic, it seems like in life, and I haven't been here taping in a year and 8 months, but hopefully that will change. So stay tuned. We're going to learn some wonderful tips and tools, and we're going to unpack some things about dreams. And because this is the dream time of winter, you might want to stick around. So, Gary, it's terrific to spend some time with you finally. It's been an eternity that I've been promising to do this show, and here we are. Can you share a little bit about your background and your education and what you call yourself a dream worker and a shamanic practitioner?
Well, I call myself a dream worker because dreams have always been important to me. And I think one of my first memories was a dream. I also find that during my life, I've had important dreams that have maybe initiated me or woken me up at certain events in my life that have changed the course of my life even. So a dream is just as real to me as an actual event. I see it as an event.
No, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So when I was little, in other words, I don't think children really distinguish between dream reality and the waking reality. So when a child dreams about somebody or meets somebody in a dream, they don't really see it as a dream person. It is a person. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of my introduction to dreams, was that it was just as real as waking life. Mm-hmm. So, and that continued as I got older.
Yeah.
That didn't fade, that sense that it's just another reality. It's a psychic reality.
Mm-hmm. And your interest in being a dream worker and your counseling?
That just was a natural evolution of being interested in dreams. I guess the way I would answer that is that in undergraduate at Hampshire, I got interested in Jung then because Jung was experiencing a resurgence of interest around 1975. So there were a lot of books by Jung and about Jung in the libraries and in the bookstores, and there was a lot of interest in Jung. Mm-hmm. So I had an important dream back then that I won't go into the dream, but it was a dream that the result of that dream was that it renewed my relationship with my father, and it also led to my starting Jungian analysis with a young man who started a practice in Amherst, and that's when I kind of got bit by the bug, and I kept going to analysis and working on my own dreams.
That's fantastic. I mean, especially during the holiday season and into the new year, there's often a quest to renew and improve relationships, and perhaps our dreams could aid in that. And going back to your shamanic and Jungian training, what is the difference? Is there any overlap?
There really isn't a lot of overlap between shamanic work and Jungian. Now, when I say Jung, the kind of work I do is Jungian because Jung introduced archetypes to really the Western world. So archetypes are, when you have a nightly dream, we all have dreams almost every night, really they're reflections on how our day is going and the issues that we're having during the day. Those nightly dreams address those issues. But at important junctures in our lives, we have bigger dreams. And it just means that we're going into a deeper place in the psyche, and that's when the archetypes, or the larger patterns of the archetypes, begin to emerge. To give you an example, in a dream somebody might invite you to come and see a play in the dream. And so when you go into the theater and you see the play or a movie, then you're actually being invited into a deeper strata of the psyche. something that's going on in another place in the psyche, a deeper place. So you're watching the play, you might be watching something very archetypal that's very important to you as it plays out. So it's a very archetypal, situation or theme that begins to unravel in the same dream.
Yeah, and there's so many different directions that we could take in this, and in the reading that I've done about Jung, wasn't he the one who thought that all the participants in your dreams were aspects of ourselves?
Yes, but that's tricky because when you say ourselves, we usually mean small s, which is the same as ego.
Oh,
and
okay.
Jung didn't mean that when he referred to the self.
Okay.
For the self is really, what he meant was capital S self, which is really kind of the overarching pattern of your entire life. So, the self is behind all of your dreaming. It's like, it's sort of like your potential personality, that the person that you're destined to be. So when you start dreaming and you start taking your dreams seriously, you start tapping into your destiny. And that's where the self, capital S, comes in.
And this is all such marvelous material to think about. When I think about dreams, oftentimes we might say, gosh, I wish I could remember that dream. And when I think about the word remember, if I hyphen it out, like remember, like bringing back the members, so it's neat stuff. So what's so special about dreams? And we may have already implied that, but.
Well, we're dreaming, while we're asleep for more than a third of our lives. I anticipated this question because a lot of people want to know what somebody who works with dreams so intensely or passionately, what's the point? What's going on here? If we don't remember our dreams and we're really focusing, when we become adults, what becomes the most important thing in our life might be our job or our family or something else that's going on, the things that are happening to us, where things are always happening to us, where we always have to be on. So sleeping becomes, the goal of sleeping is really to get rest, to rest up so that we can wake up and do it better and be more focused or just be on, for our lives and our job. And dreams can be completely, dismissed or not even a part of that. It can be, so sleep becomes almost an oblivion. And of course that's, if you're taking a sleeping pill, then that's even worse because you're really losing a great opportunity to sort of be present for dreaming, which is really a way of looking at your life from inside out. How does your life look from inside out?
You just touched on something that's so powerful because through my work, I meet a lot of people who are taking meds or different sleep remedies and opportunities to enhance, to go deeper into REM and to sleep. And now you've brought up something that will make me think about that even more in a different way. About the opportunity to be more present and part of that. And it does seem to be very popular in our society these days, where people, need some help with that because they're up a lot.
Right.
A lot on their mind, a lot to process.
Well, the other way to look at it is to look at it as brain waves, because when you're in sleep, when you're in deep sleep, you're in delta, and there's deeper levels of brain activity than that. But and then when you go into theta, then that could be dreaming or meditation. And then as you closer to consciousness, then there's alpha and then there's beta.
Yeah.
So if I'm just thinking of an alarm clock, or I'm thinking of your sleeping pill. So if you have a sleeping pill and it puts you out, and then you wake up to an alarm clock, then basically what you might be doing is going from theta to beta.
Yeah, right away.
Yeah. So you're jumping over 3 levels of brain activity, and there's no reset. That's a shock, basically, to your brain. And it's also a shock to every other part of you, including your heart, because it's like saying, hey, whoop, we got to get going.
Yeah, bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, no transition. There's no honoring the fact that you've been basically in another reality.
That's true. You know, it's interesting in massage and body work, sometimes people will go into one of those states. It'll be a different state. They're not quite sleeping, but they're not quite there. And those are very, very powerful. I've experienced them myself and in more than one way. So I think you already shared one of the dreams that made a major difference in your life. Is there anything that you wanted to add to the ordinarily night dreams or big dreams? The night dreams help us function better by day. The big dreams prepare us to transition. You mentioned one of those already, one of those segments in your life.
Well, a couple come to mind, but I think one that a lot of people might be able to identify with is when I was 18, I had just gotten my driver's license. And I wasn't driving safely. I was being a typical teenager. Not that I was driving under the influence, but I just wasn't being very safe. And I had a dream that I was in my car and I was in a warehouse that was a few stories above the street in a city. And in this warehouse, there was nothing in the warehouse. All it was a big room that where the floor was highly polished, almost like glass, like ice. Mm-hmm. So I'm going along in my car in this warehouse, and at the very end of the room, there's a panel of windows, and I can see outside the city lights, and I can basically, it was like being in a city. It was very realistic. And so I thought, oh my gosh, the car's gonna go out the window. And so I put the brakes on, and it didn't slow the car. It had no effect on the momentum of the car, and the car just kept moving very slowly to the window. Mm. And as it got closer and closer, I realized I was going to have to bail. I was going to have to jump out of the car, or I was going to go out the window. It was terrifying. It was really a nightmare. Mm-hmm. And in the dream, the last thing I remembered was opening up the door and jumping out of the car, and the car crashing through the window. Now, the effect of that dream was it didn't take anybody to tell me that dream was a warning. Mm-hmm. And because of that dream, I stopped driving recklessly. I improved my driving. And who knows, it might have saved my life.
Yeah, and the lives of somebody else.
And the lives of somebody else.
Animals, any manner of things. That's extremely powerful.
Yeah.
So how do they do that? How do dreams do that?
How do dreams know that?
Yeah, like how do they do that? You know, when you were talking about, when we were exchanging about your teaching at Green Mountain and the mm-hmm. students, when they would say, well, how would they do that?
How would dreams do that?
Yeah.
Well, Jung said that the unconscious was, so he was from the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s, so he was a 20th century man, so mm-hmm. a bit of a chauvinist. And but he called the unconscious the million-year-old man. Because it's all of the experience of the human race, basically,
right.
that's layered in, and we already talked about in terms of the brain, mm-hmm. So the brain stem, when you're functioning from your brain stem, that's the involuntary part of the brain that keeps you alive when you're in coma. Mm-hmm. It knows how people even deliver babies when they're in coma from the brain stem. So the brain can function perfectly well without consciousness, without our ego consciousness. So the brain, and then when you move up into the different layers of the brain has a lot of autonomy. It has a lot of wisdom. It's got all the wisdom of the DNA. It's got all of the wisdom of all of the archetypal kind of experiences and layers of experience that the human race has been through. Not just your personal experience, but the experience of your ancestors and the experience of your race, and even deeper. It even mm-hmm. goes into instinctual kinds of experience. So when you dream about a lion or you dream about a snake, those aren't cartoons. Those are the actual, how do you put this? The actual biological templates of those creations that are in the human, that are networked into the human neurology. So
fascinating.
It's all there.
Yeah. It's
very real. When a snake comes, along in a dream, it's a snake.
And because most of us have such amazing dreams, or a lot of us do anyways, or even simple dreams, I could see how that would really blend nicely with your work. I don't think there is anyone on the planet that isn't interested in dreams, because they're fascinating. I've already used that word once. Something else that comes to mind are, a variety of these things, and maybe we could explore one or two of these as time allows. We mentioned the word nightmares already. People might say, gosh, I had such a bad dream. Lucid dreaming, daydreams, visions, which in some opportunities in life, people go on vision quest, visualizations, divine realizations, revelations. So is there anything that you might be able to add, maybe one that would be helpful to our viewers right off the bat? Well, any of them would be. And anything you want to say is fine. But I just wanted to bring this because this was what I made for my son Miles. Miles Monster Spray, private stock. And I would put lavender oil and chamomile essential oils and things, and I would spray. Well, we make it together, and then we'd spray it in his room when he was much younger to, as monster spray for the bad dreams if he had any, and they would catch them all, or dream catchers, that sort of thing. So if there's anything that you can offer our viewers about bad dreams, nightmares, lucid dreaming, any of those, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I think that people who don't dream that often do tend to get a bad impression of dreams, because if you don't dream on a regular basis, then you might be having a recurring dream, a dream that's coming back and back and back. It's trying to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, you've got to pay attention to this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or the nightmare is just an anxiety dream that's telling you that there's something really important that you need to pay attention to. And it's not fun because it's something that's chasing you. It's something that could be pursuing you or trying to break into your house as a, that's a dream metaphor, but that's what's happening. Something's trying to get into you.
If you're just joining us, we're talking about the power of dreams, and our guest today is Gary Lindorff, who's a dream worker and transformational counselor and author. So in thinking about dreams, and what would be most helpful, the big popular word these days, of course, is unpacking things. We unpack the news, we unpack our suitcases. Some of us don't. I think I have one permanently packed. I hate packing, and I hate unpacking, but I like unpacking dreams. What would you suggest, like if maybe they'd be drawn to a book, or maybe having a light by their bed and a little piece of paper to write things down, if someone was truly interested in getting a handle on maybe understanding those deeper meanings you spoke of?
Well, the way I remember dreams is probably not the best way, which is I wake up and I have my coffee, and then but I usually, when I get up a lot at night, I'm a restless sleeper as I've gotten older, but and that helps in a way, because I do remember snippets of dreams, and then I have my coffee and write them down. But psychic energy becomes in the dream. The dream is made out of psychic energy. So when you wake up, that psychic energy becomes physical energy. And so even if you're going to get up and go write it down, you're really transforming that psychic energy into the movement of getting up and getting your pen and turning on a light and writing down your dream. So if you can, some people can use a recorder, which is on your phone, a lot of phones, and maybe a little notepad works for some people. Just jot it down, and then don't embellish it, but try to remember more after you've woken up. That seems to work for a lot of people.
Wow.
But you just write down anything you get, even if you see a glimpse of a face, or your father. You might have a memory of having been with your father in the dream, but you don't remember what you did. You don't remember what he said. It doesn't matter. Just write down, I saw my father.
Well, that's
it's
good.
a beginning.
Yeah, those are some good steps. And what about things like lucid dreaming or daydreams? Are those one and the same?
No, they're very different.
You hear the terms all the time, naturally.
Yeah, lucid dreams, what makes it lucid is that you are aware that you are dreaming while you're dreaming. So you're bringing that little bit of self-awareness into the dream. And it's very rare. I, I think the statistic was maybe, this is interesting because 30 or 40 years ago, I think it was 2 or 3% of the population could lucid dream. But that's no longer an accurate statistic. I think when I was at Green Mountain College, the students there are more intuitive, the student body. So there were more students who lucid dreamed. There were some students who were almost masters of lucid dreaming. They lucid dreamed every other night. But so I really don't know. Someone should do a study on this, but I don't know if that was that particular, demographic, or whether lucid dreaming is becoming more, more common.
I wonder how technology might, influence that. The fact that we are so often dialed into our seductive devices, some more than others naturally.
I don't see how that would enhance it.
Not enhance it, but maybe even detract from those opportunities is what I'm going for.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
It probably does.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so daydreams?
Daydreams are, well, we talked about brainwaves.
Okay.
But I think that daydreams come from a much higher level of, or not a higher level, but a higher frequency of brain functioning. So it's more of the beta or the alpha. We're in beta right now because we're staying on topic, and we're
Exchanging.
Yeah, and I have to listen to you and respond to that, and you to me. We're in beta, but so I guess daydreams, you might say, they come from alpha and maybe a little theta. If you're on a bus and you're kind of dozing a little bit to the rhythm of the road and the bus, and you have a daydream, it's not a dream. It's more like, because you have a little more control over it, right? So that's why you're wondering if it's similar to lucid dreaming, but not really, because dreams come from a deeper level. They address deeper issues than daydreams. Mm-hmm. Daydreams can just be kind of what you would like to happen, or they're kind of fun.
Yeah.
But a daydream can become a dream. You can slip from a daydream deeper into a dream, but chances are you're also going to lose the daydream character of it, and you're going to be going into more of a night dream aspect, because you're just sinking deeper into your neurology.
All of these possibilities are just so rich and opportunistic. I'm even more engaged and excited about dreaming just in talking with you, and wanting to. I mean, I dream really wild dreams a lot, and lots of different things, which is neither here nor there, but the possibilities are endless. So I think our dialogue today hopefully will encourage people to just explore it more, because it really doesn't cost anything either, which is really nice too.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. So that's a fun little freebie. The other thing that I was wondering about here, visions. Mm-hmm. Anything about visions, or vision quests might be for a separate interview. But what would you say about visions? Like, what's a vision?
Visions, I think visions are an eruption, not an eruption, but an eruption of a deeper content.
Yeah, like a force coming up?
Yeah, that comes from that very deep level. I'm not going to say theta, or because I don't want to give the impression that I'm hung up on brainwaves, but it is a good way of explaining how there are lower frequencies of brain functioning that correspond to these deeper psychic levels. Okay, so that could be something from theta, which is the deepest level, erupting up into beta. So you've got boom, and you might see something, but I also don't want to imply that it's just psychic, because if you have a religious experience, I don't think that's an archetype. I think that's an experience of the other, which is what Martin Buber talked about. So it's definitely not an aspect of you, or even S, the large S self. It's coming from another dimension of of reality. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, another entity.
Yeah, another entity. Gosh, I could talk to you all day. I've enjoyed this so much. We have just a little less than 5 minutes, and Given the timing of this show that we're taping, winter solstice is emerging, December 21st at 11:19 p.m. And when you're watching this show, it may have already passed. So with regard to that, in your mind, with regard to the dream time, why is this time of year so powerful? And then maybe we can talk about some ideas on how people could explore solstice, whether for this year when they see the show or for 2020. Why is this time of year so powerful, and why is winter solstice so powerful?
Yeah.
To you and or just overarchingly.
Yeah. Well, it's the darkest time of the year, so it's even cosmically speaking, we're going into the dark time. We've been in the dark time, and that is kind of like going into the womb, and into the deepest, quietest places of our imaginations and our psyche, and our ourselves. And so the solstice is the return of the light, and it's kind of like a little seed of the future, a little seed that's being planted in us for the spring. It will grow in the spring, whatever that seed is, whatever that thing is that we've been dreaming about or holding dear inside us is going to come up. It's very subtle, I think. I see that the solstice is very subtle.
Yeah.
And
I think it's one of my favorite expressions of falling within the holiday season. It feels like a time of coming home, of quieting in the darkness and meditating. Wonderful experiences have crossed my path, and I've been very fortunate for those. Do you have any ideas or thoughts on how our viewers might honor that or celebrate it? Of course, it's very individual, but do you have any, just for the first timer?
for a solstice?
Yeah.
First of all, I would say that if you get together with some friends and have it be something that you don't just do alone, but create a little bit of a ritual. Mm-hmm. Get together and sit in the darkness, maybe in a safe place in a living room, and think about the year that's passed. Not that it's the new year, but cosmically it is basically all the same. It's celebrating the new year. This is the most the oldest celebration of the return of the light. Mm-hmm. It's also extremely powerful as a transition, to that new time of hope and the new things coming up and growing. So anyway, sitting in the dark and giving each other a time to just meditate and contemplate together what the old year was all about and the things that you want to happen in the new year, and then when you're all ready, maybe light a candle and share some thoughts.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And have it be subtle and gentle,
Yeah.
and then be good to yourselves, sort of.
Yeah. I think that those are two beautiful words, gentle and subtle. And was that the word that you used, gentle and subtle? Yeah, I like those very much. I just wanted to thank you all for viewing, and I had a few quotes here about dreams, and I just wanted to share those with you. And you've also ignited my thoughts about looking more into my Polish heritage with regard to shamanism and the whisperers in southern and eastern Poland. But before I get into a quote here as we wrap up, the Path of Life Garden, if you've never been to it in Windsor, is a wonderful place for meandering and reflection. So I offer you that in Windsor, Vermont. So perhaps this is a good quote. Dreams are illustrations from the book of your soul that it's writing about you. And that was from Marcia Norman. And also, reverie is not a mind vacuum. It is rather the gift of an hour which knows the plenitude of the soul. Gary, it's been my pleasure to interview you today, and I hope we can do this again. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Lisa. It was great.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Me too.